I'm tracking a group of stock market YouTubers to see what the ROI of their stock picks would actually be if you invested based on their advice. And the group of YouTubers that I'm following includes Financial Education, Tom Nash, Mcash, Practical Investing, and Connor Invests. And these 5 YouTubers represent the different tiers of stock market YouTubers in terms of their level of subscribers, ranging from around 10,000 all the way to in excess of 600,000 subscribers. I've watched every single video that these YouTubers have posted since January 1st, 2021, which, believe me, was no small task. And every single time that they said they were buying a stock or feeling bullish about a stock, I recorded that data into a giant spreadsheet so that over time I can track in real time what the ROI of those investments would actually be. And seeing as how it's the end of the first quarter, March 31st, I thought it would be interesting to provide a complete update so that we can see how these YouTubers have been doing over the past 90 days. Now let me take you into the spreadsheet. So first up is going to be Financial Education, and I'm going to go in order of most subscribers to least subscribers. This column here is the company with the ticker symbol. Then here's the buy or sell recommendation, but fun fact, they rarely, if ever, suggest selling. It's mainly just buy, buy, buy. This column here is the date that the stock was recommended, which means the date that the YouTube video was posted where they spoke about the stock. And then here is the purchase price of that stock, which would be the closing price on the date that the video was posted to YouTube. This column here is the current market price of that stock. And then finally, this is a gain-loss column, which is assuming that we invested $100 in every single stock that these guys recommended. What would that $100 be today? So yeah, scrolling back down here, you'll see these are the types of companies that are being recommended. I've said this before, but Financial Education mainly deals with large, well-established companies. You know, they're really household names with a few penny stocks interspersed here and there. But overall, he tends to focus on large cap companies. And so scrolling down to the bottom here, you'll see in this column here, as I go down, that there's pretty tight spreads on most of these, with not very many of them being significantly up, except this one, AMC, the movie theater chain. But also not many of them are significantly down as well. And so if we just scroll down to the bottom, we'll see that with all of these stock picks over the past 90 days, the first quarter, the total ROI would be 1.75%. He recommended 98 ticker symbols over the course of the past 90 days, which is a lot, although I will say that he repeated many of them. For instance, Tesla, came up quite often. Palantir in recent days came up quite often. So yeah, he has his go-to stocks that he likes to talk about. These aren't 98 new companies, but still. This is the total result for Financial Education for the first quarter. I mean, 1.75% over the course of 90 days is not bad, especially considering the fact that the stock market has been a bit of a roller coaster lately. So yeah, there you have it. Now let's move over and check out Tom Nash, next on the list. Now, this is where we get a little bit of a mixed bag. Some of these YouTubers are up, some significantly up, and some of these YouTubers are actually down. And as I scroll down through the list here, you'll see actually that Tom Nash is one of the YouTubers that overall first quarter is down. And that's largely the result of a stretch here of stock picks that are really not holding up so well. And basically any of the stocks that Tom Nash recommended early February to mid-February are currently way down, because I think the stock market was basically hitting a peak then, and then there was a bit of a crash and a bit of a pullback. So some of these, have lost over 50% if you actually went and bought that stock on the day that the video was posted to Tom Nash's channel. Anyways, scrolling down through here to get to the bottom, we'll see that over the first quarter, Tom Nash is down around 7%. So not great. Now, I should highlight here that Tom Nash definitely advocates for a long-term approach in his videos and always suggests only buying a company if you have strong conviction in it over the long run. And so I think a lot of these plays, especially the ones that are down significantly, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to bounce back at some point, potentially even in the near future. At least with most of these companies, there are still mid-sized to large companies with a few penny stocks interspersed. And as you see, as I get into the other 3 YouTubers, that's not necessarily the case. So while Tom Nash is currently down around 7% on the quarter, I do think that there is more long-term potential in some of these stock picks than in some of the ones we'll see in just a second. And we might as well move over now to Mcash, which is next on the list. Now, this is another stock market YouTuber that I've featured quite regularly in some of my previous videos, and I'll throw a link up here to the playlist where I actually discuss Mcash's stock picks in much more detail. But here I'm just going to say very briefly, he is a stock market YouTuber that focuses slightly more on the penny stock side of things than on the large cap, well-established company side of things. And I'm just going to scroll down through here so that you can see generally, the types of companies that are being recommended and the cost that the companies would be. A lot of them ranging from under $1 to a couple dollars, under $10, with some large ones thrown in there as well, for instance, Tesla. But scrolling down to the bottom here, so we can see the total results. For the first quarter, Mcash is currently down around 10%. And that is based on, again, if you purchased $100 worth of shares in a company on the day that the YouTube video was posted. I have had some comments of people suggesting that Mcash first make these suggestions in his Patreon, his Discord, his private group, and then only post it to YouTube several days later. But what I'm analyzing here really is the ROI of the stock picks on YouTube, not on Patreon, Discord, or private groups. And so what really matters to me is the price of the individual stocks that are recommended on the day that the YouTube video is posted. Moving to the fourth YouTuber now, Practical Investing. Now, this is another story altogether. So Practical Investing is a channel that is almost exclusively focused on penny stocks. And very rarely does he post videos discussing large, well-established companies. As you can see in this column here, everything is really just a pure penny stock. Now, scrolling down to the bottom here, you'll see that the total ROI on Practical Investing stock picks since January 1st, 2021 is almost 5% in the positive. So actually doing better than all of the other YouTubers that we've seen so far. And another thing that I want to highlight and draw your attention to here is this. Total invested. This means that there were 226 stock recommendations, 226 ticker symbols, which is absolutely astonishing. Over the course of a 90-day period, that's an average of 2.51 ticker symbols per day that are being pushed out on YouTube and suggested that viewers should potentially invest in those. Now, it's not like all of these are new companies. There are some repeat ticker symbols, so it's not 226 brand new recommendations, but the majority of them are. This makes me ask, is it actually possible to perform a proper analysis of 226 ticker symbols over the course of 90 days? The answer is obviously no. No real financial analyst would tell you that it's physically, mentally, or logistically possible to pump out that much analysis and have it be legitimate and have it be credible. Some of the analysts that work for the big investing firms probably produce a couple reports per year, and they do deep dives into the financials of companies, look at the total addressable market, make comparisons of some of the competitors and see what the odds are that a specific company is actually going to win more of that addressable market moving forward. And that's of course something that takes time and hard work, and not something where you can pump out an average of 2.5 stock recommendations per day, which is absolutely insane. At this rate, I think we can safely assume that there's basically no analysis being performed. It's more like random chance, plucking ticker symbol names out of a hat, and then potentially Practical Investing is reading a couple of news articles to make it sound like he actually knows what he's talking about. No, seriously, if you compare what Practical Investing says in his videos to news articles, you'll see that in many instances, he's literally just reading word for word. Check out an example.
So the first penny stock on the list is Savera Inc., ticker symbol SVRA. Let me go ahead and break this potentially explosive company down along with my price target. So Savera is a biotech company focused on orphan lung diseases. Savera's main focus is on autoimmune pulmonary alveolar proteinosis, which is a rare condition in which protein material builds up in the lungs and prevents effective breathing. This condition is definitely something you do not want. Trust me, it sounds absolutely horrible. Current treatment involves a patient admission to intensive care, full anesthesia, and a literal washing out of the lungs, which is definitely an invasive and difficult procedure. So I really like this pick because Severa is researching medical alternatives to treat this condition.
And yet, despite this, Practical Investing has over 30,000 subscribers, his channel is growing, people seem to take it seriously, and I just don't get it. And furthermore, as I posted in a previous video, link right here, Practical Investing is actually being paid for some of these stock pick recommendations. So that means that you can't actually trust what you're seeing. How can you trust a recommendation coming from someone that's being paid to promote a stock? Of course, in those instances, he's going to come out with a buy or a bull thesis because he's being paid to do it, and they wouldn't pay him to provide a negative review. It's just mind-blowing. Anyways, moving to the fifth and final YouTuber for this quarterly update, and that would be Connor Invests. Now, Connor Invests posts the least out of all of these guys, and scrolling down here, we'll see that the total ROI on these stock picks is negative 2.6, almost negative 3% over the course of the year. And as I scroll back up, there's nothing really crazy here. Some of them are down pretty significantly, and a couple are up pretty significantly, like Bionin and Genomics here. But overall, nothing really remarkable here. The thing that makes Connor Invest stand out from some of the other YouTubers that I've been tracking is that I think he's probably the youngest. In fact, his profile picture on YouTube was him in what seems like a prom suit or something like that for quite some time. So I have to assume that he is in high school or just recently graduated from high school. And in these instances, I find it really interesting that people are willing to take investing advice from someone that hasn't even been around long enough to have acquired the experience and the expertise and the knowledge that you would think someone would need to be able to provide legitimate advice. But it is what it is. There you go. He's not actually doing the worst out of all the people that I've been tracking. And so there you have it. Anyways, thanks for watching. That is the quarterly update. That's where things stand right now as of March 31st at about 9:30 p.m. So if you're watching this later and you're thinking that the market price of some of these companies is not what it seems in the video, it's simply because I recorded it a little bit earlier. Like I said in some of my previous videos, the YouTube stock market space is really a wild, wild west, and it's getting out of control. Anybody with a camera can pick it up, record a video, making investing recommendations and stock picks, and put it on the internet and amass followings in the thousands, tens of thousands, and sometimes even hundreds of thousands. And this allows them sometimes to exploit their following to do paid promotions of penny stocks. And overall, I just think it's a crazy situation that's developing here. And I'm gonna keep tracking, keep following along, because I think it's really interesting to see what the results are. And over the long run, it's going to become more and more interesting. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more content related to YouTube stock tips, personal finance, investing, and entrepreneurship, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.